What US-based chain do you miss the most? Just felt inspired to make this post after looking back at Radio Shack as I couldn't believe how long ago it was when it first closed down, as I recall that day like it was yesterday when it died. I miss Toys R Us. It was always fun to go there. I remember fondly going there as a kid and going there as an adult. I miss computer shops like Babbage's and Walden Software, and shopping for video games and computer software back when you bought them in boxes on the shelf instead of paying for a download. There used to be a fast food chain called GD Ritzy's. I loved their chili dogs when I was a kid, and I wish they were still around. It's really sad that kids today don't have anything like Toys R Us. I've never been able to take my 6-year-old daughter into anything remotely like Toys R Us or KB in her life because they went extinct before she was born. The closest she gets is the toy section at Target, and she'll be outgrowing toys altogether in just a few more years. Yeah, there used to be multiple toy stores around when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Now they're basically all gone. We took our daughter to Toys R Us shortly before they closed, but she wasn't even 1 at the time, so she obviously doesn't remember it. She's 7 now, and has never really gotten to experience that kind of thing. Toys R Us was great because they not only had a bunch of the harder-to-find stuff for the big toy lines, they also had weirder toys you wouldn't find at other stores. Browsing Toys R Us was an amazing experience as a kid. Online stores like Amazon might have a larger selection, but it's just not anything like seeing the stuff in person. I currently love up in Edmonton, and Thrihace Toys R Us up here still took my nephew into one, and it brings back such nostalgia. They turned my Toys R Us of my youth into a huge wine and spirits warehouse. They have everything. If you want Mariah Carey's hard-to-find Irish cream, they have all 3 flavors. They also still have the original shopping carts, and the logo is a giraffe drinking a martini. We all just call it Booze R Us. It's just as fun to browse as an adult as it was when I was a kid. It's a great part of growing up, even if I never wanted to. Oh, that's funny. I always used to joke that Guitar Center was Toys R Us for musicians, and Total Wine and More was Toys R Us for alcoholics. Sounds like someone else had the same idea. We just got a Spirit Halloween in our old Toys R Us. My hometown's old Toys R Us is now an Ollie's bargain outlet, with the tagline on their sign saying, "Good stuff cheap." I haven't set foot in there since it was TRU though, so I can't comment on whether that tagline is honest or not. There are a few GD Ritzy's left. 3 in Evansville, 2 in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I think 1 each in Huntington, West Virginia, and Columbus. Oh, Toys R Us was my thought too. I have some nieces and nephews I want to buy gifts for, but Amazon seems to suggest the same toys over and over. My family was moderately well off, but the nearest Toys R Us was over an hour away. Really, the only time we were around there was when we had a bunch of other big purchases that kind of made justifying buying toys kind of difficult. So I never really got to go there as a kid. Then when I was 25, I moved to a city and fell back in love with Lego. TRU actually has some pretty awesome deals occasionally, so I'd end up there about once a month. Then it closed a little over a year after I moved here. Then the pandemic hit, and it's been hard finding an actual deal on Lego beyond the pretty standard 20% off Borders books. Damn, I miss Borders. Former employee, it was awesome. We used to go to the original store on State Street when I was a kid. Also Walden Books, I always preferred Borders, but Barnes & Noble is still going pretty strong. Barnes & Noble came a lot closer to closing than most people realize. They brought in the former CEO of a British bookstore chain, and he turned things around. Source: my sister manages a Barnes & Noble. This is my answer too. I used to spend entire afternoons there. I can still remember how it smelled. All those books mixed in with a little coffee scent from the cafe, Circuit City. Not necessarily cause of the prices, but way back when they had actual experts and enthusiasts manning the different sections, you could ask someone a TV question and it was some dude that literally subscribed to TV technology magazines that would respond. At Best Buy today, the skill set knowledge is much more limited. Circuit City. Not necessarily cause of the prices, but way back when they had actual experts and enthusiasts manning the different sections. I feel the same way about Fry's. I built a couple of different PCs from scratch from '98, 2005 from there. Though honestly, I never really talked to the staff. I just loved the sheer selection, and how you could just wander along and pull all the components you needed right there off the shelves or in the bins. A couple years ago, I went to Fry's after not having been in like a decade or longer. It was pretty sad. Lots of empty shelves, pretty dingy, just a shell of its former glory. I asked an employee if they were closing, and the guy gave me a weirdly defensive no. I was like, oh, okay, and walked away. The Fry's in Austin was full of employees who were total geeks. Each department had people that could rattle off the specs of whatever it was you were looking for. If they sold it, there was at least one person there who could quote you chapter and verse of how something worked. They were walking encyclopedias of PC lore. And then out of nowhere, at least for us, we go onto the website to look something up, and all we got was a page with their logo and, "We're sorry, but we are no longer in business." My boyfriend went to the store at least once a week, and there were no indications that they were going out of business. I know they aren't everywhere, but I feel about Micro Center the way that I used to feel about Fry's. That place is awesome. I built a PC like a month before the pandemic kicked off. Great timing. Micro Center is the spot now, if your city is lucky enough to have one. Lots of knowledgeable employees on the floor who get paid on commission. There's a whole section in the back with graphics cards, Raspberry Pis, etc., for the real gearheads. I'm simultaneously super sad and super glad there isn't a Micro Center near me, literally for hundreds of miles. I would spend so much damn money if I could get to one. I was working at CC at the start of the end. I remember when they fired all the commission-based sales guys who knew their stuff, replaced them with 16-year-old kids that they could pay a few bucks over minimum wage. My friend was one of their commission people. They switched to hourly and they all left. They claimed sales wouldn't suffer. No wonder why they're not around anymore. C-levels panicked, saw the bottom line, but made the mistake of not caring about the customer experience. They were worried about the 5 to 10% of their customers that would come in, get the knowledge from Circuit City, and then head over to Best Buy and get it cheaper there. But they completely ignored the success of companies like REI that nearly always charge MSRP. But they both have knowledgeable staff, and they stand behind the products sold with their return policy. I miss the old Lifetime for any reason REI return policy. But I also did know people who would abuse it and then act like they were the smartest people on the planet for abusing it because they had repeatedly gotten new shoes for free over 6 years. Circuit City was incredible. My family and I got a bunch of stuff from there over the years. I distinctly remember my last purchase from there, just a few weeks before they went out of business. Gears of War 2 and Madden NFL 09, Circuit City, not necessarily cause of the prices, but way back when they had actual experts and enthusiasts manning the different sections. See, I hated going to Circuit City over Best Buy because they had salespeople working on commission who would pretend to know more than me. Thank you. As a former commission-based Radio Shack employee, did everyone in this thread just bump their head and forget how awful it was back then? You'd walk in and have an associate sniffing you within the first 10 seconds, because that's literally the store's requirement. You didn't receive actual training in the products, you were just given quotas on what you had to sell. Else you'd be fired. And a lot of people were. It wasn't a real sales position. You weren't growing your own book of clients like a car dealer, and you were totally reliant on foot traffic. I didn't work with people who knew about electronics. I worked with high school kids and middle-aged burnouts who couldn't find literally any other job. Circuit City was the junkier, skeevier Best Buy. Kind of PC Richard and Son today. Best Buy thankfully moved away from commission because it was unsettling having all of the employees salivating over you, even if you made it clear that you were just browsing. And yep, Radio Shack made us do that loyalty card, credit card, and insurance plan scam too. 1970s Dunkins. They were just owned by a family, and I could walk to town first thing on snow day mornings while they were making donuts and wait as they came out of the oven. They were so good. You would always get whatever was just coming out of the oven, even if your favorite was already on the shelf, because they were just so good. When your favorite was just coming out, heaven. I worked at DD in the mid-90s, and they were delicious. We were still donut forward with flavored coffee just getting popular, and the now extinct, I think, coffee culottes. They're so terrible now that they focus on coffee. Heck, they even dropped donuts from their name. Ponderosa. My dad used to take us there every Friday night. It always gave us something to look forward to at the end of the week. I would love to carry on that tradition with my kids, but it doesn't exist anymore. Does it have a dead tooth too? JK Blockbuster. Renting a movie from them made it an event. I definitely have a bit of nostalgia for them. Getting Chinese takeout and walking the Blockbuster aisles with my high school boyfriend and going home to get cozy and watch movies. Growing up there was a take and bake pizza place right next to the Blockbuster. It was a magical combo and a weekend night staple. And I'd only ever rent the same few movies over and over again. Adult me is immediately like, why didn't my parents just buy them? I'll never forget the joys of opening a new account to avoid late fees.